So I figured all of the teachers are doing their show and tell. I might as well do show and tell also. This is my doggie, Sweetie, and she's been in and out this morning helping me with the videos. And I thought she's standing right here. I might as well pick her up and show her off to the world. So this is our dog, Sweetie. Can you say hi? She's shaking. She's like, what is going on? I'm going to go ahead and put her down and we'll get started on our math lesson. Okay, for our math lesson, we are going to generate equivalent fractions today. Please watch this video in its entirety because if you're doing this on Google Classroom, typing in your fractions is going to look a little bit different today. So make sure you're watching all of it and I'll definitely go over it. Okay, when you were figuring out equivalent fractions, just remember that they're very often not a wrong answer. On this task analysis, they came up with 2 possible answers, but there could have been so many more. And your answer that you're coming up with might be very different than a different classmate's answers. But you are figuring out equivalent fractions. This goes into that whole method or thinking of whatever you do on the bottom, you must do to the top. You are figuring out another way to write a fraction. That's what equivalent means. Equivalent means the same. So kind of like I can write 5 plus 4, which equals 9, or I could write 4 plus 5 equals 9. Both ways, you still get to the same answer. That is equivalent. Well, now we're going to think towards fractions. So you have the fraction 4/5. The author that made this worksheet decided they want to work with the number 2, which you could work with the number 2 in every single problem you do for this worksheet, and it would get you to the right answer. But what they did was they chose 2. And remember what I was talking about, whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. That's exactly what they did here. They took the 2 and they are going to multiply the 2 on the bottom and the 2 on the top. 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8/10 is the same as 4/5. It's just a different way to write it. And that's what they came up with down here. And then they're telling you right here that 4/5 is the same as 8/10. Then the author decided, okay, well, instead of us using the number 2, we're going to use the number 20. Once again, if you want to use the number 20 for every single problem you do, go for it. If you want to use the number 3 for every single problem, you can. Okay, just remember whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. So they took the number 20 and then multiplied it times 5, which gave them 100. And then they took the 4 and multiplied it times 20, which gave them 80. So 80 over 100 is the same as writing 4/5. Okay, and that's what you are doing for this worksheet. You are trying to figure out equivalent fractions. So if you're doing it on a paper worksheet, it would look like this. You have 2/6. What number do we want to use? You can pick any number. If we chose the number 5, just because I feel like it, whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. So let me get my pen out here. I am going to multiply the top and the bottom by 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. 6 times 5 is 30. This is one example of an equivalent fraction. So 10 over 30 could be my answer. I could pick a different number. I wish I had one of you guys to shout out a number at me and I could hear you. But let's go ahead and pick another number. Let's do the number 3. If I again put a 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom, I'm going to multiply the top and bottom. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. 6/18 could be another example of what I would write here. So you're coming up with 2 answers. And remember, whatever your answer is, it might look different than your classmate's answer, and that's okay. Before I go to the Google Doc and show you how you would write these answers down on the Google Doc, I am going to go into a story problem and show you one story problem, just so you have an idea of what you're doing, okay? So let me go ahead and come on out here, and we are generating equivalent fractions, and so we have page 1 and page 2. Here is page 2 of generating equivalent fractions. Maybe if it wants to come up, there we go. It says Kyle drank 2/3 cup of apple juice. What fraction is equivalent to 2/3? Once again, in my opinion, the best way to come up with the answer is to solve all of these. It's great practice anyways. You have 2/3. You are asking yourself, okay, well, what can get me to that amount? If I have 2/3 and I have 2 9s, I know that 3 times 3 equals 9. So whatever I do on the bottom, I must do on the top. Does 3 times 2 equal 2? Nope. So I know it cannot be this answer. So then I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. The next one, again, I have 2 6. So I have a 2/3, which is the answer up here. And I'm going to see if it's equivalent, equal to 2 6. Once again, I have the same situation. Look, they have the 2 on the top. The same thing. 3 times what equals 6? 3 times 2. Well, does 2 times 2 equal 4? It sure doesn't. So I know it isn't B. So now I'm going to go to C. Erase this out of the way. Okay, again, I have 2/3. And I need to see if it's equivalent to 6/9. Well, 3 times what equals 9? 3 times 3. So whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. Does 2 times 3, does that equal 6? It does. Okay, so I think the answer is going to be C, but I am going to double check D and make sure that it possibly isn't 2 answers, because there's always that possibility. Again, you have 2/3. And you're seeing if it's equivalent to 9 6. Well, 3 times what equals 6? 2. So whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. 2 times 2, does it equal 9? It sure doesn't. So we know that it cannot be D either. So my correct answer is C. And that's how you figure out equivalent fractions. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back, and I want to show you how it would look like on a Google Doc. Okay, so the front page, remember you have to come up with 2 answers, and there could be many different answers that you come up with for your problem. But if I know that, okay, 2 times 2 equals 4, and that would be on the top number, and then 6 times 2 equals 12, that would be the denominator. So 4/12 is the same. Now, notice how this fraction is written diagonally. I have the numerator on the left side, and then I used a fraction bar, and then I type the 12. That's how you would type fractions on a Google Doc. It isn't going to be something that is with the numerator literally on the top and the denominator on the bottom. You're going to have to write it out horizontally. The slash bar that I used is underneath the question mark. So to type a question mark, you have to push the shift key and then the question mark key. To get the fraction bar, you don't have to push shift, you just push the fraction bar. Okay? So again, what is something else that's equivalent to 2 6? Well, 2 times 5 is 10, fraction bar, and then 6 times 5 is 30. So 10 over 30 is equivalent to 2 6. Now, if you recall when we were doing the answers on the back page, C was the correct answer. So again, you would type C on your answer sheet. And that's how you are going to use the Google Doc.